Welcome back to Delver Models. So in this video I'm going to be carrying on with the engine for the CBR1000RR and adding some extra detailing and such to it. So to start off with, I'm going to replicate the rivets. As you can see here, the Hobby Design set has some photo etch parts, which are these ones here, but they're quite flat, as you can see. So instead what I'm going to use is these from Top Studio. So I've measured what will be accurate for the real ones. So I've got a 0.5mm drill bit and I'm just going to drill some holes. Looking at my reference photos, not all of these actually need drilling out. They've not all got rivets in, so pay attention to things like that if you're doing the same as this. So I'm going to drill all the way through and then we can put the pins in. So making sure I clean up as I go so I don't end up with loads of bits in the way and dirty drill bit, so it does a nice clean hole. Nearly there. So that's the first one done. As you can see, it goes all the way through now. And then just pull that out. And I've got a nice clean hole ready to take the rivet. So I'm just going to check now that it actually fits in the hole properly. So get the packet open. Just carefully put them onto the bench. So I'll just show you what these are like. So you can see, just zoom in a little bit. If it focuses, you can see there the three-dimensional shape that it has because it's a metal piece rather than a photo etch piece. So hopefully you saw that before it went ping on my desk. So as you can see, it's got a base on each of these, so I'm just going to get a pair of old cutters and just nip that off, and then go and get some tweezers to hold it, and then I can check that it will fit in that hole and that my diameter for my drill bit was correct. So as you can see, perfect fit. Yeah, looks good, straight. I'm happy with that. Just zoom in a little bit so you can see again the detail on it compared to a flat photo etch piece. I think this adds a much more realistic element to it. So I'm just checking the fitment on the casing there because the rivet sticks out a little bit at the back. As you can see there, it creates a gap, so we'll have to address that and figure out how to deal with it. So just jumped off camera just to do some extra bits. So the first bit, paint some chrome on those round bits, and then I've drilled the rest of the holes in the casings because I didn't think you'd want to sit here for an hour watching me do that because it's boring enough doing it for yourself, let alone watching somebody else do it. So yeah, that's what I've done so far. There you go, the last one. So I'm going to use my Super Gold from Bob Smith's again and start gluing the casings on. So I'm just checking where each one's going and what location pins I've got. So I've got 2 pins there, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue around the edge, make sure I've not got too much on my cocktail stick, so as not to make any mess and get over glue around the edges and such. So that fits nicely there. Going to the next one now. So checking where it lines up and how it fits. Sometimes these take a little bit of working out. This one's not too bad. So again, I'm just going to run a bead of glue just around the edge, making sure not to put too much on. And I can put the piece on, make sure it's all lined up. So you've got where the bolt heads are going, you've got them moulded in pieces where they go through the real casing, so just making sure all that lines up properly. And then the other side, check which way the writing goes. There's a good indication of which way it's going to fit on there. So it looks alright. And more glue. Just making sure when I've got excess glue that it's going in the middle of that area, again to keep it away from the edges, and then I can bring it to the edges as I need to. So that's the last one on now. Again, just double check that it all lines up properly. I've not got it misaligned anywhere. And that's it for that bit. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of options with these rivets on how to deal with them. So we look there and go to put that in, you can see it doesn't go all the way through. So the first option you can do is to drill more out so it goes deeper in, and kind of advantage to this is that it helps glue the actual part on, because you're drilling through and then applying glue through it, so it gives it added strength on that side of it. And not that it makes any difference, it's more realistic to the way that the real ones are done. And the second way would be to trim them. So on this one, as you can see, I'm using the option to drill through on it, and then just keep checking that the rivet fits. I'm taking my time, I don't want to slip and damage it anywhere. So let's see how it fits now. There you go, now it goes all the way through. So once I'm happy with that, I can go back to my glue and then just tip the dip of the rivet in, and then just remove any excess so I don't make a mess on it, and then it fits nicely in there. Just zoom in and then you can get a closer look at it. So one down and about 30 to go. But yeah, I'm happy with that one. I'm going to go through the rest of them fairly quickly now, so I'm not going to show all of them on camera, but I'll just do a few more. So not always the easiest things to pick up, as you can see, and before I put any glue on I make sure that it actually goes in the hole properly, and then when I put glue on I know that there's nothing going to be there that's going to catch me out. It's not going to sit proud or anything like that. If you don't check first and you do have a problem with glue on, you'll end up getting glue everywhere and making a mess, so it's always worth checking first. So just go through a few more of these. So a couple on there, and then skip a few, and then we can continue going around this bit, and then the last couple on this side. So that's all the rivets done, and then I can move on to attaching the rest of the components. So I'll start off with attaching the cover for this at the top of the engine. So again, checking how it fits and orientation and everything, and then I can apply some glue. So as usual, just a nice thin bead around the inside edge, and then I'm not going to have any seeping out to the outside. That'll do, and then just attach that on. And and that's looking good. So once that's done, I'll just flip it over and then I'm going to attach the sump. So again, checking how it's going to fit, and then I can apply some glue. So now I should have a nice neat joint without any visible glue marks or anything like that. The next job is to apply a wash to the block. So I'm using oils for this, so using black and burnt umber as a mix. So put a couple of bits in my tub. There's burnt umber. I prefer these because I find them more versatile and I can manipulate them more with thicknesses and various other bits. So apply some white spirits to it and then I can start playing with it. As you can see, the paint's starting to thin instantly on there, so as I start to play with it, then I can manipulate the colours and the thickness to get the effects that I want. So I'm starting off with the black, get a bit of burnt umber in there, and then as you can see, I'm just playing about with the thickness at the moment to get it where I want. And this purely comes down with practice and experience as to where you want to be with it. So to start with, I'm just going to go around all of these and carefully put a dab around each of these sections. So you can see there that bit of oil was a bit thicker than the first one, so it's gone darker, which isn't a problem. The same with that one. There's quite a bit on the brush on that one. So like I said, you can manipulate these. You couldn't do this with other things that you get off the shelf, and that's why I prefer this method. And then any extra you can clean up and do what you want with. So I'm just going to work around and do these to start with. So you can see as I'm doing this, the shadows starting to come out and giving it more depth. So I'm just going to carry on around other areas now. So again, at the moment, I'm just looking at recessed areas and what's going to be noticeable, where there's natural shadows would be and things, just to emphasise those areas and then manipulate it a bit. Drop it off my stick, but that doesn't matter. So as you can see down, as I'm playing with the brush in the tub, I'm getting a mixture of the black and the burnt umber for this, because that's got a goldish tint from the titanium colour I used. I don't want to go pure black on that. You can see there what I was saying about when you've got more pigment, when it's not thinned down as much compared to that one was more of a wash, and then that one's barely got anything, just as a comparison between them. And you can see the colour variation as well on there. So I've got that about where I want it now, and then I can go around the rest. So those bits there are where the exhaust would attach, so it doesn't matter if I leave that anyway, but I will clean it up later anyway, just to neaten it off. As you can see, I'm going a bit heavier in this area, just to emphasise the shadows a bit more. Depending what area you're doing and what you're trying to replicate, you can do variations of a pin wash or a deeper wash like you see here. It's just soaking around the various shapes and things, and this is going a little bit heavier just to show you the different effects that you can get really. It's not too much of a problem. Like I said, it's very versatile and any mistakes that you make can be cleaned up easily enough, so it's not a problem. Just go around there a bit. I'm starting to fill in that that line where the gap is between the colours, just to emphasise it a bit more, and then it goes flying across the desk. I'm trying to avoid putting my fingers in any areas where I've put any of the oil, just so I don't get it on my hands and get it everywhere else. So it's not particularly easy to hold, but we'll get there. So onto the main block, which was the aluminium shade. So as you can see here, I'm using more black in this part and less of the burnt umber shade to give it the colour tones that I want. Same up there again. And spin it round. And it's quite thin that I'm putting in here, just to creep in and not take away anything from the main engine. And I don't want to change the tone of it. I don't want to make it look dirty and oily. That's not what I'm going for on this one. I want a quite clean look on it. So I just want it to seep into the recesses and keep the rest of it clean. As you can see as I'm going around, the shadows are a lot more emphasised now compared to not having the wash, which is the benefit of doing these, whether you use the panel line wash as something off the shelf or you manipulate oils like I'm doing. The effects ultimately are the same. It's just to darken the shadows to give a more realistic look to it. Nice shot of the back of my finger there. Unfortunately, I need to be able to see what I'm doing as well as trying to show it on camera, but hopefully you get the gist of what's going on there. So spin it around, do this bit in here. I mean, all of this is going to be covered and hidden in the depth of the bike when it's finished, but it's just one of those touches that I like to do as I'm going anyway, just to give me the satisfaction of doing it, if nothing else. So just moving on to the top now and putting the wash and all that. Again, it looks quite dark, but it is thin, so it will blend into it better once as it dries and do some cleanup. So I've left that to dry for a little bit, and then get some kitchen towel and then just start to wipe off from the raised areas. I'm trying to use it flat so as to not take all of it off, but you can see on the cloth there what's coming off. And then on that area there, I just want to add some thinners and then I can clean it off. So you see how easily that's just come off now, and then I can reapply it. So this is what I was saying about it being versatile and being able to manipulate and play with it. You can't do that with all the products, and that's why I like these. They're slow drying, which in some ways is a negative because you can't get on with stuff, but for me it allows me to play with it and tweak it as I see fit and get it ultimately where I want it to be. So I'm just going around the whole thing now, getting rid of all of the excess in areas that I don't want, just to keep it in the recesses. So left it a little bit longer again now, and then I'm going to use a cotton bud or swab to clean it a little bit more, and this will get into a bit more of the recesses but not totally get rid of everything. But it gets a bit further than the kitchen towel does, and then again it gives different effects for different areas. Make sure you don't get bits of cotton and fibres on there, like giant cat hairs or something, which never looks good. So I'm just going around it now, seeing where else I want to tweak or manipulate. Another area that I was working on was this part, which I think is part of the throttle body or fuel injection system or something like that. So I used more burnt umber on this part, even though I'd painted it aluminium. I just wanted to give it a different colour shade. So as you can see, I'm wiping most of it off. By far the majority of it's coming off, but that was quite a thicker coating that I gave it. As you can see there as it's coming off, but if you compare that now with that piece, you can see the colour difference, which was what I was trying to avoid doing on the main block, but I just wanted to show that as a variation as what you can do. Now that all that oil paint's dried, I can start doing the final details on the engine and fitting the last few bits. So got the oil filter there. I've not done the decals on this yet, I'll do those after it's attached, but this is going to go here, so I'm just going to put a bit of glue around there. So as you can see, I did put some of the oil wash on that area, but it doesn't matter. It's better trying getting it in areas that are going to get then glued and covered than trying to avoid those areas and then missing something that's visible and it looking a mess. So onto the plug caps. So these are directional, they want to go a particular way, so I'm trying to hold them in a tiny little thing, so it's not the easiest thing to do, but we'll get there. So they want to be facing that way and try and get them all straight. So that's the first one gone, and go for the second one. Again, it doesn't want to sit straight, but we can sort that out. Try it again. It's not looking too bad now. Give it a slight twist just to get it where I want it. Again, it's one of those areas that it's not even going to be seen, but if I don't do it, it'll just irritate me not getting it right, even though it's not seen. But it's one of those things, isn't it? Get that one in there. Give it a slight twist just to straighten it up. Too far, go back again. That looks about right. And then last one. A couple more bits in the depth of the engine. I don't actually know what these are. It's like alternator or something like that. It just wants to sit in there. I did debate when I was painting it up and prepping it, detailing it up a bit more and making it more realistic with wire pins and things like that, but it's completely buried in here underneath other bits, so it didn't make any sense to do that for me. So there we go, that tucks in there. It might be a starter motor, or maybe this is a start motor. Who knows? Somebody will know. I'm sure the mechanics know. I'm not a mechanic, as you can probably tell. There we go. So that goes in there. Like I said, that piece just gets completely covered by this. So happy with those now. So I'll move on to these pieces. So I didn't do quite as much of a wash on the second part as I did with the first, but I don't think it matters for this. So I'm just checking where it actually fits and what orientation. So that's the way it goes. So just put some glue in here. In fact, just double check how it actually sits and then do some glue. It's always better to double check than end up with glue in the wrong place. So unfortunately it keeps focusing on my thumb rather than where I'm working, but hopefully you get the idea of what I'm doing. It takes some of that excess glue off because I don't need that much there. And then attach them together. As I showed in the first video, I did the dipstick with the piece of wire so that I could just install it without having to glue it. So as you can see there, that's where the hole is. But because I've applied paint and everything, it's actually made the hole closed up a little bit. So I just need to get a pair of tweezers just to give it a bit of persuasion, just to get down there and break the bit of paint that's blocking it from going in. So I'm not going to apply any glue on that because it doesn't need it. So last bit is showing you the hoses. As you can see there, I've put some photo etch banding around it from the Hobby Design set. The same on these, so they've got a bit of texture and detail to them. So once it's all assembled and everything, they should look quite good on the finished bike. So I was going to show how I did that, but the recording wasn't that great, so I'll try and show you on the future video how I go about doing that. But I'll just start attaching these all now. So I'll start off with this small one that's got the metal pipe work attached to it. So I've moved it on camera so it helps you to see as well. So just figuring out where it goes, and then I can apply the glue to that area. So there's a little bit it goes on there for the main piece, and then there's a bit there that the back of the hose sits on. So get that on, orientate it so that it fits where it's supposed to. So I'll hold that on there, and then hopefully that's going to stay where I want it. So that's looking alright. And then just working out where the next hose goes. So that goes on there, and then that centre section is supposed to attach to another bit, so just figure out where that goes down there like that. So take it off, and then I can apply some glue to there as well. So as before, I'm using the same glue, the Bob Smith Gold with a black cap. So it's the thicker version of the two, and gives a nice strong bond. That looks alright. So get the next hose now, and then again check where it's going to fit. So it's going to go that bit there, and that piece sits on there. I realised that that was missing a hose clamp off the end of that, so just sorted that out quickly. And now I can see where it goes. So I'll put a little bit of glue on there and a bit of glue on there where it's going to fit. And now with that clamp attached to it, I can do the final fitting of it. So that's looking alright. So although I've got the third hose there, that actually gets fitted later down the line. So the next bit to go on is this piece up here, which if I get it the right way round will actually sit a little better. So there you go, that's where it's going to go. But before I actually glue that on, I just want to make a quick change. So what I'm going to do is get that out of the way, and then I'm just going to nip that connector off there where the tube would attach that comes in the kit, and I'm going to drill that out so I can attach my own wire. So I've got my 0.3mm drill bit in my pin vise, and then I'm just going to drill a little hole in here. So I'm just being careful, I don't want to go all the way through or slip. With it being such a small drill bit, I don't want to break it, so just going slowly. And get rid of a bit of dirt and then have another look. I'm just going to clip that one off as well, which is in the centre of it, and then I'm going to drill that out as well. So I'm going at an angle on this one to match what's already there. So that's looking alright, that one's looking okay. So now I can see how it's going to fit again, and I can put some glue on there. So I'm just putting a little bit on each of the 4 locating points, and then I can attach it. So I'm just going to check my wire now. So with my digital calipers, I've got this piece of wire here, which is, as you can see, 0.47mm in diameter, which is about right in scale for the throttle cable on a 112 motorbike. So just checking that's going to fit in there, which it does. So using my old cutters, not my nice ones, as you can see in the bottom corner, I don't want to be using the ones that I use for the plastic. I'm just going to trim the end off that, and then hopefully when I attach that into that hole, it's going to cover all of the inner wire and then just leave the outer sheath visible like that. So I'm not going to glue that in at the moment or cut it to length until later down the line, because I don't want to get knocked or damaged or anything like that. So last bit that I was going to show you is the Tamiya tubing that comes in the kit, just as a comparison scale wise. So you can probably already see the difference in it, but if you look at that, that's 1.06, it's more than double the thickness of the wire that I'm going to use. So scale wise it's way off. I mean, for the average builder building the kit, starters and all the rest of it, it's fine, but when you start getting down to wanting to replicate more realism and detail and all the rest of it, then you want to be looking at swapping the cables out. So there you go, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.